Thank you very much, Stefan. I guess you have a lot of questions, do you? There is a lot to digest about SWIM and the information management panel activities. And actually, I would like to take this opportunity because we are running a little bit out of time now, but if you have questions or something that you haven't understood and you want to have clarified, please write it down, because on the third day we will have a full session dedicated on questions and answers, so we will try to establish this interaction to address all your doubts and questions. So the IMPs, as you've seen, the IMP is doing a lot. It's pretty structured. They are organizing various working groups, architecture, governance, services, awareness, so they are trying to cover every single aspect, and as I said initially, they really like to define a minimum set of requirements, because we want to answer big questions such as what we want to be governed at the global level, what does it mean compliance, which are the minimum services that needs to be provided. So the IMP really acts as a focal point, and as I said, also as a coordination point for all the other matters. Having said that, I would like to switch to the next presentation, which is going to be again done by me. And this presentation will provide an overview of the activities that have been done with respect to Annex 15 and PAN-SAME. So the presentation will outline the main elements of the 15th edition of Annex 15 and also the new elements that will be proposed through the new PAN-SAME. As you are probably well aware, the ICAO documentation is structuring this three-level framework. So we have annexes, which contains high-level requirements and performance specifications, and very, very high-level provisions, and usually the primary audience of annexes are states. Then we have PANS document, and PANS documents are procedural documents. So the primary audience of a PANS can be either a state, but also the service delivery organization, because the PANS contains all the procedures, the processes, the technical specifications that are really supposed to support the daily AIM work. And then we have guidance material which contains best practices and guidance to support the implementation and the application of the standard and recommended practices as defined in the elements. So within the AIM domain, we are thinking of having this three-level framework. So we're going to have Annex 15, PAN-SAME, and the AIS manual. PAN-SAME is the new element, and it's basically the document that stands the gap between the guidance material contained in Document 126 and the SARPs embodied in Annex 15. So basically what PAN-SAME does is to take some elements from Annex 15 that are too detailed for Annex 15 and elevate some elements from the guidance material to a PANS level for an increased harmonization of procedures within the domain of AIS. So it was always clear from the real beginning that introducing a full AIM scope in Annex 15 should have been an evolutionary process and not a revolutionary process. So to accomplish the global transition from AIS provision to AIM-enabled services, it was necessary to develop sequential and successive changes to Annex 15. So the first amendment that had introduced some AIM elements in Annex 15 has been Amendment 37, which had reorganized the first three chapters as an evolutionary approach step in this process, and it was meant to facilitate a more complete incorporation of AIM-related provisions. And the Amendment 37, what it did was, for example, we have better identified the distinction between the state responsibility versus the AIS responsibilities. We have introduced performance requirement for information exchange. We have given more value to the establishment of formal arrangements between the AIS organization and the originators, and we had a much more extended aeronautical information management chapter. In the meantime, we had also other two amendments, Amendment 38 and 39, but these are only consequential amendments coming from activities of other panel. But the big change will come really with Amendment 40 to Annex 15. And as I said several times, from the real beginning, it was clear that we introduced this full AIM scope in Annex 15 would have never resulted in just a little change of provisions, but would have caused a huge restructuring of our documentation. And the reason why this was necessary is because, as we try to do in SWIM now, we tried to answer big questions such as which is the scope of AIM, which is the role of AIM, which are the main functions, which are the main products and services, and now which are the update mechanisms to update them. So Amendment 40 will basically redevelop chapters 4 to 11 of Annex 15, and we will have, in replacement of that, 3 new chapters. Chapter 4, which will focus on the scope of aeronautical data and information. Chapter 5, which will focus on aeronautical information products and services. And Chapter 6, which will focus on aeronautical information updates. So you can see here that what we try to do, it's very important because we tried to decouple the origination phase from the definition of the end products. And this is really important because it's a key concept to transition to AIM. So this is how Chapter 4 will look like. We will have one paragraph on origination of aeronautical data and information, which will be divided in different categories, and each category is supposed to represent a specific type of originator. And then we have another paragraph related to metadata requirements, which are becoming more and more important, particularly transitioning to SWIM. And what Annex 15 says at the moment is that the metadata requirements should cover the whole data chain from data origination to the next intended user. Chapter 5. Chapter 5 will be the one dedicated to aeronautical information products and services. Now, we introduce here a new term, aeronautical information product. And basically what we're doing, we want to replace the existing integrated aeronautical information package. This term is deleted in the annex and is replaced by aeronautical information product, which refers to all the aeronautical data and aeronautical information provided in either paper format, electronic format, or as a digital data set. So the aeronautical information product really refers to the various ways in which aeronautical information can be provided. And is much more in line with AIM thinking and SWIM thinking rather than the obsolete integrated aeronautical information package. So Chapter 5 will be divided in 3 services. Service 1, which is the provision of aeronautical information in a standardized presentation. And when we say that, we refer to the legacy products, so AIP supplements, and circulars. Service 2, which will be the evolutionary part, and is the provision of digital data sets. And Service 3, which will be the distribution service. So here we refer specifically to not-on-service, pre-flight, and post-flight services. Also, Chapter 5 tries to split, let's say Chapter 5, we'll answer the question, what needs to be compiled as an aeronautical information products and how things needs to be compiled will be described in the balancing. And of course, we want to also keep continuity with previous amendments to make sure that it's an evolutionary process and not an evolutionary one. So, Chapter 5, legacy products. We have a better distinction between paper products and electronic products. And of course, even though electronics is not like moving to a digital data set, but still we try to promote the use of electronic products because it's a smooth transition towards AIM, and of course it implies a better management of the products and it minimizes human intervention. So legacy products really, as I said before, represents continuity with the past, because even though we want to move away for certain products and for certain way we are managing information, still we have the need to deliver products as they are delivered to you. Chapter 5 is the evolutionary one, is the service it's the aeronautical information and data provided as digital data set, and this is really the big change because information managed as a digital data sets really represent a paradigm shift in the way the information is managed along its life cycle. Because as a digital data set. All the processes such as management, storage, verification, validation are done in an automated way, in a structured way. So it's much more easy to manage the information in this way. And as I said also before, it minimizes human intervention. So the chapter 5 will describe the data sets as thematic data sets. We will have AIP data sets, terrain and obstacle data sets, aerodrome mapping data sets, and instrument flight procedure data set. For terrain, obstacle, and AMDB, we are all familiar with what I'm talking about. The new elements are the AIP data set and instrument flight procedure data set. At the moment, they are managed as a recommendation in Annex 15, and the interesting part is that we introduced for the first time the capability to basically replace certain sections of the existing AIP with a digital data set when this is available. Service 3, as I said, is the distribution service, so we refer to NOTAM distribution, pre-flight distribution, pre-flight information service, and post-flight information service. It's mostly the same requirements as we have today. Some highlights. We have some requirement to deliver complete and consistent NOTAM information, and we really imply states of obligations to do so. We recognize through certain recommendations the current and future communication capabilities and mechanisms such as the web services, and also we recognize global development towards a revised system based on digital model. The PAB, that has been a requirement so far in Annex 15, remains, but it remains as an option in a note. That's how a quick overview of how Chapter 5 will be structured and organized. Chapter 6 will be the chapter dedicated to aeronautical information updates. So Chapter 6 contains aeronautical information update with a focus on products. And this results in including existing IRAC requirements. And the chapter details how to update each product and service. So for specification, with respect to the specification for AIP updates, there is no change in the provision. With respect to NOTAM, NOTAM is just different in perspective because NOTAM is considered to be as an update mechanism. And we took the opportunity here to provide also some slight improvement to NOTAM because we basically listed a certain number of operational requirements that define when a NOTAM shall or shall not be generated to make sure that the NOTAM is more fit for purpose, because that's the problem that we are encountering nowadays. Digital data sets update. Provisions are developed for permanent changes and temporary changes of long duration. And these types of changes can be provided as a full data set or as a delta data set. And also with respect to the current IRAC provisions as applied to the data set, what we say is that we don't want data set in between IRAC cycle, but we want to encourage the usage of NOTAM in between if necessary. So that's how Chapter 6 will look like. So there will be one paragraph on IRAC and the second one which will be dedicated on how the various products will be updated. Overall, in Annex 15 we actually have extended the data quality requirements. So at the moment data quality requirements is defined only in terms of accuracy, resolution and integrity. But to be compliant with the industry standards, we decided to define the data quality also in terms of traceability, timeliness, completeness, and format. And we basically aligned our definition with the definition coming from the industry. On top of that, some terminology is updated in the annex. So as I said before, we have aeronautical information product, replace the old integrated aeronautical information package. We have the data catalog. I will talk in a few minutes about it. Characteristic data quality, characteristics, so completeness, timeliness, traceability, and format. And we actually define terms such as originator, origination, and next intended user, which are supposed to better specify the data chain. Also, terms such as validation and verification have been updated. And the amendment also introduces a more consistent use of terms such as form, formats, or media. Now, to move away from Annex 15, I going to provide a little overview of PAN's aim. As you know, a PAN's document, as a general principle according to the ICAO rules, a PAN's document is comprise material which may eventually become standard, but when it has achieved the maturity and stability necessary for adoption in the annex. Material that is considered too detailed for SARCs, or is supposed to amplify the basic principle contained in the corresponding SARCs. In the specific case of PAN's aim, the last 2 points mostly apply, because we use PAN's aim really to take out from Annex 15 elements that were considered too detailed and to amplify some principles in support to the application of Annex 15. Now, the PANS, as you know, doesn't carry the status of standards. That means that there is, according to the Article 38 of the Convention, there is no obligation to file a difference to ICAO. However, in accordance to Annex 15, states are expected to publish in the ARP the significant differences between their procedures and the related PANS. So PANS is really important. And also PANS is an important tool, as I said before, for harmonized practices and procedures. As applied to AIM, briefly, we took, for example, all the existing Appendix 1 of Annex 15 concerning the formatting of an AFP has been moved from Annex 15 to the PANS. Appendices related to NODAMs, NODAM, and ASHTAM formats have been moved to PAN's aim. Some elements coming from the guidance material, such as AFP, AFP supplements, and AIC have been elevated to the level of PANS, and also quality management practices have been introduced in there. For a quick overview, Chapter 2 and 3. Chapter 3 basically is dedicated to the full description of quality management system from data originator to the next intended user, while, this was Chapter 3. Chapter 2 is dedicated to the description of the main procedures and practices within the Aeronautical Information Manager. So we focus on collection, validation, verification, and compilation of the EIM products. We have also some safety management requirements that will be probably inserted in PAN's aim and also in Annex 15. We received them from the EIS study group, but we are still reviewing them to make them align with the latest amendment to Annex 15. The other chapters, 4, 5, and 6, they are more or less one-to-one in line with the Annex 15. Chapter 4, 5, and 6, again, here in the PANS we describe how to do things. So, for example, in Chapter 4, we don't describe what to collect, but we describe how data shall or should be collected. So, for example, that we need to be, for geographical coordinates, we need to be compliant with WGS. Chapter 5 is mostly relocated text from Annex 15. Chapter 6, more detailed information about the digital data sets, because we really specify the subjects that needs to be included within each specific data set. The big news is the data catalog. Probably some of you are already familiar with the new concept of the data catalog. The data catalog will be a new appendix, Appendix 1 to PAN's aim, and the data catalog will be really describing the full AIM scope. So the data catalog is the catalog of all aeronautical data and aeronautical information that are supposed to describe, as I said, the ANS infrastructure. Data and information will be described in terms of subject, property, sub-property, descriptions, and not only, because we provide in here all the quality requirements associated with each piece of information. So we took every element coming from Annex 4, Annex 11, Annex 14, and we put all the data quality requirements together in one single place as a one-stop shop. And this is also easier for us from an ICAO perspective, because of course we don't have to maintain